welcome back to my channel. My name's Tamika. This is Library of Tomes, where I talk to you about all the bookish things going on in my life. Hi, welcome back. I hope you're doing great. So today, for the 9th day in the 12 days of HEAs, we are actually going to be talking about our 2020 comfort read. And I gotta give Izzy credit on this because she helped me come up with this topic idea, because I was thinking about, you know, the different things that we could talk about. I didn't want it to be all recommendations. I wanted it to be kind of a mix of different topics. And this one in particular, I think, is a good topic to talk about because 2020 has been a hard year for everyone. 2020 has quite literally been one of the worst years of my life, and I don't think I'm exaggerating because I think other people would agree with that. So I really want to touch on a book that was a real comfort for 2020, kind of a book that is really comforting, and I think that's such a fun idea and like a good thing to share, especially right now. So if you need a comfort read, we're going to talk about some of those. So let's get started.
Hi everyone, my name is Stef from the YouTube channel Novelty Corner. My 2020 comfort read was Daring and the Duke by Sarah MacLean. This is the third and final book in the Bare Knuckle Bastards trilogy, which is a historical romance series, and it was utterly delightful. This book sees the long-awaited reunion between Grace Condry, the undisputed queen of the London Underground, alongside her two brothers, and Ewan, the Duke of Marwick, who has been the series antagonist in the previous two books. Having known each other for years, they parted on less than amicable terms, and now that they're both in London at the same time, Ewan is looking for reconciliation with Grace. However, that is the last thing that she wants, and she is out for revenge, and this is their story. I was very fortunate in that I only started this series this year, so I didn't have to wait very long to read the third book in the series. But part of the thrill of this was seeing how Sarah MacLean could redeem a character like the Duke of Marwick, and I have to say that this was a really fun, entertaining historical romance story with a really strong female protagonist. The characters are great, the banter is fantastic, and somehow Sarah MacLean manages to redeem a character who's been causing problems for two previous books, but boy does she make him work for it, and it was great. I'm really looking forward to seeing what everyone else's comfort reads are, so I can add those to my reading list as well. Thanks everyone.
Hi, I'm Laura from the channel Laura's Library Card, and today I am talking about my 2020 comfort read. So a book that brought me a lot of comfort and that I probably will return to in the future is Two Rogues Make a Right by Cat Sebastian. This is a male-male historical romance, and it is the third book in the Seducing the Sedgwick series, but I didn't read the first two, so I don't feel that you need to read this book. So in Two Rogues Make a Right, we follow Martin, who is a titled gentleman who at the start of the book is very ill. And his childhood friend, Will, comes to take Martin to the countryside and nurse him back to health. Will and Martin were friends as kids, and Will has also had some traumatic stuff happen in his past. And this book has a couple tropes like nursing back to health and close proximity to some extent, and sharing one bed. So the reason I chose this as my 2020 comfort read is because I found this story to just be so emotional and really tender and loving. We follow these two, and they kind of have this low conflict love story where they're kind of acknowledging their feelings, what that means to themselves and to the other person. They're kind of discovering a lot about each other. And they're both both Martin and Will are so emotionally in tune with each other, and they're cautious, and they both just really want what is best for the other person. And just throughout the whole book, I wanted to give both Martin and Will like a big hug. It never gets too steamy, but it was just so vulnerable and loving, and it was such a comfort to read this low conflict story. So if you're interested in a historical romance featuring two male protagonists, I definitely recommend you check out Two Rogues Make a Right by Cat Sebastian.
Hi, my name is Crystal. I'm from Crystal's Bookish Life. I'm so excited that I got to participate in Tamika's 12 Days of HEA. Today I'm going to be talking to you about my 2020 comfort read. Now, when I think of a comfort read, I usually think of the author who I know is a go-to author that is going to deliver on everything that I want or need out of that book. And for me, that author is Sarah MacLean. So the book I chose was One Good Earl Deserves a Lover by Sarah MacLean. This is the second book in her Rules of Scoundrels series. This book follows Pippa and Cross. Pippa is a very intellectual, very smart, really focusing on how much she can learn and how she can apply that knowledge in her life. And she is set to be married within about 14 days when she realizes that she is lacking knowledge in the department of what happens in the marriage bed. So she seeks out Cross, who is a part owner of this gambling hell in London, and she asks him to help her with this knowledge, and she proposes that he ruin her. And their romance was so, honestly, heartwarming and happy. Even just thinking about it makes me just smile. I loved seeing how Cross loved Pippa for who she was and how he wanted her for who she was. She also wears glasses, so I can relate. And I just loved seeing her really break through that wall of what exactly is it that is a sensual woman and how can I get there? And when they finally come together in the end, it was one of the most satisfying love stories that I have ever read. And this just made me completely happy, rang all my bells. It was my comfort read of 2020.
Hey there, my name is Bree and my channel is In Love and Words, and my favorite comfort read of 2020 is actually a comfort read that I've had for many years, but it's a book that I just keep going back to and I talk about it on my channel absolutely all the time. It is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. The first time I read this was probably like 2017 or 2018, and I fell head over heels for Archer. This is a story about a girl named Bree. I promise that's not why I chose this, because she has the same name as me, but it is pretty great. She is kind of running from a pretty tragic past. Her father was killed in a very violent manner, so she is running away from her hometown and she travels to this small town, and that small town is where Archer lives, and he is like the town loner. He is mute, he can't speak. A lot of people think that he's deaf. Because Bree's father was deaf, she also knows sign language, and when she first meets Archer, they have this super great meet cute because she has a bag full of like embarrassing stuff. Like I think she has like a bunch of candy bars and just a few other things, and she ends up dropping it everywhere, and he happens to see her and he helps her clean it up and everything, and she's trying to like laugh it off and talk to him a little bit, but he doesn't respond because he's mute. And so she's like, okay, that was weird, but she feels this connection with him. And so he leaves, and then later on as she goes into a diner and she's asking about him, and that's when she finds out that he is like the town loner, and it makes her even more intrigued by him. And it turns out he lives not too far from her on this like plot of land that he kind of maintains himself. One day when she's riding her bike past his house, her dog sneaks into his yard, and so she goes and chases after him, and then that's when they begin talking, and she finds out that he's mute but he can hear, and so they can communicate by sign language, and they slowly but surely begin to build this relationship even though he's pretty standoffish. Archer is one of my all-time favorite heroes. He's one of my favorite types of heroes. He's a virgin, and he's been very like cut off from the world for such a long time that everything that he discovers with Bree is like new and beautiful, and he has like this sense of wonder, and it's just so heartwarming. There's a lot of heartbreaking things that happen in it too, but the happily ever after is so worth the wait. This is such a great book. If you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend it.
All right, so obviously for the one I picked, I had to go with The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. I loved this book. This isn't enemies to lovers. This follows two people. Olive is the girl's name. I can't remember the dude's name. Is it on the back of the book? That's a good question. Ethan. So we got Olive and Ethan, and they go on this honeymoon that's supposed to be for their siblings. So their siblings get food poisoning at the wedding, and they have to take the vacation and pretend to be their siblings. And they hate each other. So this was just a super comforting read, because the story takes place in Hawaii, and that just sounds super comforting. Honestly, if we're just gonna be honest with each other, the idea of being on a beach right now and not having to put up with COVID, that sounds really comforting. So it's honestly the entire like premise of this book and the setting is kind of what's comforting for me. And then on top of that, just the funny moments and the banter between these characters, 20 out of 10. I really like that part. So this is my 2020 comfort read. Let me know what yours is, because I just really love this book, and I think this is such a fun story, and I wish I could read it 20 more times, but I don't reread. Who am I? So those are the 2020 comfort reads from all of us. As I've said in every single one of these videos, if you want to check out any of the books or the other romance booktubers, they are all linked in the description, and we will chat with you all tomorrow for day 10.